Hi, I'm John Darrer, and in today's podcast we address the subject of present value. It's a very important financial concept to understand as it impacts a variety of different transactions within the structured settlement arena. It also impacts damages in lawsuits. So what exactly is present value? First of all, let me tell you what it isn't. I often hear the subject present value or present day cash value. There is no such thing as present day cash value. It is present value. And what present value is it takes either a lump sum to be received into the future or a series of payments to be received in the future, and it answers the question is, how much do I have to put down today at some assumed interest rate to achieve either that lump sum at that specific time and that specific future date, or to generate the defined income stream to be paid in that specific mode of payment for that specific duration on those specific dates. That is what present value is. So for example, if you have, the way you would measure it is you say, okay, I've got a future value of $1 million, and I am going to invest it for 7.2 years, and my interest rate is 10%. What is my present value? And then with that information, you can calculate what the present value is. It is not the present day cash value, it is the present value. It is a very important term to understand because it can help you compare different types of investments, different types of cash flows to establish what is, at an equal interest rate, what is the present value of these differing series of cash flows. When it comes to calculations such as the New York State 50A or 50B, then you must understand present value because it's an intrinsic part of the calculation of damages under those statutes. You must calculate, particularly under 50B, you must calculate the present value in order to determine what the attorney fees are. Under 50A, you must calculate what the present value is as well, because it reflects the amount of damage, it affects the amount of damages that are paid in cash and the amounts that are paid periodically. Present value is something that can be very easily manipulated. It can be manipulated by simply changing the discount rate, which is an assumed interest rate. Again, as I mentioned, the original purpose of present value is to compare two series of uneven cash flows by using a single individual stated discount rate. A classic example of how present value can be manipulated is the case that resulted in legal action. A case called Lyons versus MMIA, where a structured settlement was presented. It was represented to be worth a certain sum of money, and it turned out, from what I understand, that it was simply a manipulation of a present value. A classic example of present value manipulation that hurt plaintiffs was the case of Lyons versus MMIA. This is a case that, very famous case, at least in New York legal circles, where the defendants in this particular case represented that the structured settlement was worth a certain amount of money, or the present value is a certain sum of money. The present value, it turns out, was simply a manipulation of interest rates. It wasn't the true cost of the structured settlement. And as a result, the attorneys ended up charging too much for their attorney fees, ended up getting sued. And the insurance carrier was also sued. That's not really the purpose of my bringing it up, but it was the result of manipulation of the present value. And the fact is that the plaintiff attorneys in that particular case clearly did not understand what present value was, or didn't have a clear enough understanding of what it was, and it was only the I believe it was the CPA for the plaintiffs that was able to uncover it. The New York State Legislature, when it amended Article 50A in 2003, created a fix to this problem as it applied to medical malpractice cases under the statute by fixing or creating a set determination of how discount rates were to be determined. And that serves to somewhat eliminate manipulations of present value. But it's certainly not a perfect system. And if you are an attorney representing an injured party, you need to have a clear understanding what present value is. And if you are an attorney for a defendant who has an obligation to represent that defendant, be careful how you phrase or state present value, because if you're stating it as the present cash value and you're not, especially when it comes to structured settlement annuity, not using an annuity cost, you've got to be clear what assumptions you're using. Otherwise, I think it's a case of potentially misrepresentation. Thank you. I am John Derer. Have a good day.